we're going to put you, I think, suggest we put you on speaker view, folks, so that we can see better. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up some stuff. Hi. So you're giving me, is it my time? I'm gonna talk.
It is your time, but I'm going to say,
Okay.
everybody,
Yeah.
if you don't know who this is the fantastic Sarah Cranen, who is not only we're very lucky on this project to have Sarah as our scenic designer, but oh gosh, she's head of design for the entire department. She's an incredible professional designer out in the world, not just of scenic work, but in puppetry and all kinds of things. So we are thrilled that we get to have her on this project, and she's going to introduce us, I think, today. And that's a shabby way of introducing you. I should have more things to say, but
That's crazy.
Sarah has is going to do us the favor of sort of introducing us all, or you all, to some of the production realities and design conceits we're coming up with. And I've told them, Sarah, that we're experimenting, right? We're still making some decisions. So, and I've also asked them to take notes and to ask any questions that occur to them, and they might get the answer, we don't know. But it's a good question.
That sounds about right.
That's
That sounds about right.
right. Or
Okay, good.
they might get an answer. So
Right.
I will pass it over to you. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay, well, it is a joy to be here. I'm so excited to hear about the various developments and changes that have been going on. And what's exciting for me as a designer is, believe it or not, there's a whole other narrative of process that's going on for this show that's not in this room. So what I'm going to talk about today is both the role of theatrical design in general and how our work will integrate with your work, and then specifically what the kind of plans are for helping to tell the story of this piece and create the world of this piece. So and then I'm also going to ask, by the way, you probably already know this, but Demi, who is in your cast, is also your costume and lighting designer. So I'm going to ask Demi to present her work, and Elias is your sound designer, and I'm going to ask him to present his work as well. So the way it'll go is I will present and talk for a few minutes, and I'll ask Demi to, and then Elias, and then I will kind of come back and just kind of talk about what the integration process will be like as we move into the next phase of developing the piece. So yeah. So I said so many things. Which one do I start with? So the process of theatrical design in and of itself is to help create the world of the show and to give the audience even more information than they get from the performances alone. So by information, I mean kind of literal information, like where are we? And I also mean emotional information, stuff that might be a little more subconscious, like how am I feeling in this moment of the show? How are the characters feeling? How am I empathizing with the characters? How is my understanding of the experience of the characters changing over time? So we do that in both visual and oral ways. And the visual ways are scenic, lighting, and costume design. So I'm going to cover the scenic, and Demi's going to cover the lighting and costume. And then we do it in oral ways as well, and Elias will cover that. The process that we use in this case has been supplemented and advanced by this being a community-based project. So part of what I'm showing you is part of what we do on every production as part of the theatrical design process. And then some of it has also been deeply influenced and advanced by ideas that have been coming forward in the development of the piece from the community. So what I will show you first is a very raw first step at how I thought the world of this play might develop in a visual sense. So When I first meet with Bernardo and Paula, what I do is I show them visual research, and all design areas do this visual research as a way of kind of processing their own um, visual impulses that they have in reaction to the piece. So what made sense for us was to look at the piece as kind of containing two worlds, visually speaking. One is the here's, meaning all the scenes that take place at the VRC, and the other is the theirs, meaning the memory flashback scenes. And so what we're going to try and do is describe those two different worlds with a different visual vocabulary. What is a visual vocabulary? Well, it takes the form of things like color, shape, visual movement or intensity. So when we're in the VRC, the idea is that we are kind of in this boxy Zoom world. So the screen will feel somewhat neutral in some ways. We've got some of the more pastels and homogeneous looking colors, things like this. And then I'll show you a very specific example of how this will play out later. What we're also going to introduce scenically is this idea of the whiteboard, or a surface that is in the background at all times in the VRC, that is kind of a shared community backdrop, basically. Because in scenery, we have, you know, this environment, and normally in theater, we're in 3 dimensions, right? There's a spatial world, but because we're doing this as a film, basically, we're restricting ourselves to more of a 2-dimensional palette. So as we move through this palette, the world of the here's will develop and become more textured and more interesting the further that we go along in the show. And then as we move into the theirs, things will become a little bit more intense, a little more vibrant in the backgrounds, maybe a little less clear. And I think I'm ready to move on to what I then do with this research, which is create basically an impact collage that tracks the rhythm, the visual rhythm of the show. So I'll show you what that means. So all of the images I just showed you, I pulled into one frame. And the purpose of this is to help me as an artist. This is not something that will ever be seen by an audience member, but it's something that I share with you so that you have a sense of kind of how the whole visual context of the world will play out. So this is just a tool, basically, that I use as an artist to help me lay out my ideas for the show. So if you read it from left to right, this is the world of the here, and then this is the world of the there. And you can see very specifically the research, some of the research images I just showed you make appearances throughout. And now what I'm going to do is show you the actual storyboards for the show. And storyboarding is something that we do to kind of track and understand for ourselves, to lay out how each individual shot is going to look. Now, for anyone who's in my scenic design class, which I think is only Elias right now, the the process of storyboarding when we're doing a theatrical production actually takes place in a miniature, like a tiny model of the set. And we make it look like it's gonna look in tiny miniatures, and we put little tiny people in it, and we take pictures. Okay, now they stand over here, and now they go over here. And we track how the show will unfold in time. But because we don't have that 3-dimensional element, well, you do, you're in your room, right? You're in 3 dimensions, but our final product will be 2-dimensional. So what we did this time is I created a 2-dimensional digital photo boards to figure out what each scene will look like. And this is the part where the world of the play, as the designers have been imagining it and conjuring it, is going to intersect with what you've been doing so far. So here we go with storyboards. Okay, so what you're looking at here is the same proportional relationship that the final cut of the film will have. It's a 16 by 9, right? 16 wide by 9 tall. What we are proposing to do is, for all of the theirs, meaning the flashbacks, the memories, we're going to use up that whole space of the screen, except for a border around the outside, which will have this kind of more vibrant color to it. So that's what you're seeing right now. And again, all the images that you're going to see in these storyboards are just placeholders. They're not any real content that will be introduced into the final cut. That's going to be made by you. We're going to film you and then edit you to kind of fit into these rough sketches, basically, of how the final cut will look. So the first scene would be a kind of montage as we hear MC's words and the sounds that Elias will be bringing in over the montage, images of both MC and what he's doing, images of kind of that are aspirational and what he's thinking about while he's doing it. And then when we come out of that scene, we're going to snap right into the VRC. So here we are in the VRC. It's Zoom land, but VRC version. So what I have so far for this is, if for the sake of some kind of visual continuity, we're going to have these basically solid color backgrounds. And everyone will film like you do in Zoom, and we'll see that kind of standard, chest up view of you. And Colin, who's our editor, will trim and move and adjust your squares so that we can tell the story of the scene. So it might be this layout, it might be a different layout. Sorry, I grabbed some still images from the reading. My my apologies if anyone feels poorly represented by these photos, but they are, again, just placeholders. So as the scenes in the VRC progress throughout the course of the show, we're going to have this background here that represents the whiteboard in the space, and it will fill up with more and more content. And I will be reaching out to you to find out what that content should be. And I'll create a digital version of it, and that will provide basically the background to these scenes. And then we'll move into more memory scenes, looking for the shoes. And again, these memories take up the full screen as opposed to the boxes. And that's one of the visual indicators that we give to the audience that there's something different between the theirs and the here's. We go into the scene with the picture. And for this one, what we've been talking about doing is we're having, of course, to find creative ways to put two people in the same place at the same time, especially when they're the same person. So this is one of the ways that we're going to do that for this scene. And then again, back to the VRC. And every time we go back to the VRC, we get more content on that whiteboard. I think this is MC's monologue about hope and the stain on the couch, and then walking towards the sunset, or to go see the sunset. We're going to be using green screens for some of our scenes so that we can composite two people looking like they're in the same space. So for George and Yvonne, this is a kitchen, and we'll get two different views of the same kitchen and put them and digitally impose them behind you. For Max and the George Carlin scene, the idea is that George Carlin appears on Max's phone. So we'll have some green screen involved in that. And we'll also be doing it for
Read,
Paula.
Reese
Reese
and
and
Ron.
Ron.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Sorry, I had to unmute.
I got to like the limit of my of what
Great.
I could keep in my head at one time.
You're sharing a lot of information, so
But
you're
I'm
doing
almost
great.
at the end of the show.
Yes.
So I almost got there. So same idea as the kitchen, but this case we'll do a garage. So we get two different views of presumably the same garage. We haven't completely solved every scene in the show yet, so things kind of peter out and get a little disorganized around the end here. But this is the scene with Lorena, and then back in the VRC at the end. So that is the very short version. What I want to say before I pass it over to Demi and Elias is that, you know, just like everything I've shown you so far, these are tools in kind of figuring out what it is we're going to do. And every time we take a step forward, we learn more about what it really needs to be. So some things that I just showed you might be different. We might add something the same way you decide to add a scene or add dialogue. You're like, oh yeah, it needs more of that, right? So we take a step and then we kind of analyze, and we take a step and analyze. So what's going to happen next, and I'll come back to this at the end as well, Paula, and talk in greater detail about it. But basically what's going to happen next is, what does the process look like where we start to integrate all of these visual and sound elements into the performances that you're giving in terms of filming. And we will become kind of two hands holding each other as we terrible metaphor, supporting each other as we move through actually figuring out how to make it all kind of look like that. So
Sarah, that was so fantastic. I wonder, we didn't really decide on this, but does it make sense to see if anybody has any questions specifically after this design, this little
yes,
scenic piece? Because this is, I'm sure this is like pretty, and I might say, just to sort of summarize in a way that my non-visual head kind of understands it, is, and to bring it back to, because this is such cool stuff. But when what we're basically looking at is the here has one representation, which is the whiteboard and the Zoom squares, and the theirs all have a full screen with a background that's kind of abstracted, and a lot of times the images that appear in the theirs are also abstracted because we're reflecting that time when you're not in the here and now, when you're in memory or you're in fantasy or you're in any kind of other place. And so what Sarah is so beautifully expressing is that is kind of an odd kind of way of being. It's not like straightforward, and especially some of the characters go into uncomfortable theirs, right? So that is expressed visually that way. So the here's are the Zoom boxes with the whiteboard behind that builds up. The whiteboard gets bigger and bigger and bigger, more full. And then the theirs are the full screen images with abstracted potential images with backgrounds as well. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
I just thought I'd throw that out as a sort of something to wrap your head around if you're not a visual goddess like Sarah, which I am
but
definitely
like,
not.
so maybe for a couple of minutes, if anybody has any questions or comments or curiosities that you want to direct towards Sarah and what you just heard and saw, this would be a good time. If anybody's wondering about some specific or general comment or question related.
And don't be shy. And there's no question that's a dumb question. All questions are good, because this is a whole different world. Like for me, it's a whole different world. It's a really interesting one, but one that I'm just like, wow, what? Any questions? Or do you want to just go on and then hear more and then see if things pop up?
No questions. I'm just super impressed. That looks amazing.
It is
amazing. It looked really good. I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So in creating, like, I guess the different sceneries between like here and there, is there something specific about saying of recording on like your phone? Are the dimensions or something somehow easier to manipulate in that medium than say Zoom itself on like your laptop?
Yeah, it's just higher quality.
Okay.
And yeah, and it means when we start manipulating it, we just have more data, more pixels to work with,
Makes sense.
because Zoom has compression, and
Yeah.
yeah, bigger files, bigger problems. But yes, that's why.
Cool. But yeah, otherwise it's just that was super cool, super impressed. I
Oh,
was just
cool.
taking notes of like all the things you said. So I was yeah, I can't wait to see like what the finishing product would be.
I know, I'm so excited too. Like Samia, I can't wait, to have, I don't know if you got that what we're looking at now with the grown Nomi and the young Nomi scene is that like grown Nomi will show up in the picture frame that she was looking at her dad. She was looking at her dad, and that's where grown Nomi will come.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yes.
think me and Bernardo were talking about it the
Okay.
other day. I knew it was the picture frame. I thought it was going to be in a phone as well. But either way, I think that that's really cool.
Well, we
That
can put you anywhere. I mean, just throw it out there. Like, you want to be in a phone? We'll put you in a phone. No,
there was cool. I was just like when he told me how they were going to do it.
He told
I
you.
was like, wait, what? That's really awesome.
and
Off the video that way.
and we'll come back at the end. I'm going to give you a few more details about like how is this actually going to work.
Yeah.
Right, because like I said, you are actually half of how it's going to happen. So
Yeah.
we're going to come back to that. But yeah, anyone else have any questions
Super.
for Scenic? I'll be here all night.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Demi, because now I'm going to ask her to condense everything into 5 minutes, which I couldn't do. But go for it. I bet you can.
Yeah, I think I can do it in 5 minutes. Let me see. Oh no, I can't see it. There we go. Sorry, there's the bar thing in my way and I don't know how to, there we go.
Every professor in the
That
room
bar
here
thing
too.
is in my way, I cannot see it.
Hide floating panel. That's what we do.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, it's still there. Okay, I'm just gonna
Not
work
for us, it's not there. So just so you know.
Okay. So these are my ideas for the costume and lighting design. And like Sarah, I also have visual research. I am starting with lighting. And these are just a few of the images that that inspired me for lighting. So for the there, I focus more on the there. I'll go to the here in a little bit, but for the there, I mostly focused on this presentation. I wanted to have like for some of the theirs for certain characters, I would have like a sepia tone, not super like washed out sepia where you can't see the color of the clothing or the skin anymore, but like just like more of like
Desaturated?
saturated, yeah, like but in a sepia tone. So here are some examples that I have. The first one will show you like how it transforms from a here to a there. There we go. Okay, so here, right here, they're in the here, and it's more like of solid colors, more of like showing that they are in that moment. And then the way it transforms into the there, into a memory that she's thinking about, and it gives her that sepia color, but she's not completely like the color. You can still see the colors of the car, you can still see the colors of the tree, of her outfit. And then the second video that I'll show you, it shows a little more, it shows way more color than this scene. And then it'll go back into the here, like right there. Where is it? Stop. Oh no. Here's a scene from her. I like this scene because it shows the sepia color, but it also shows the colors of the beach and the umbrellas and the swimsuits. Where does it go more forward? Right here. You can see the color of the pinwheel. So like I want the sepia color, but I don't want it to wash out any of the colors. And there's actually in my next slide. How do I make this bigger? I can't see it. There we go. In my next slide, I took some pictures using a filter on Zoom. Next. Oh, sorry. Let me just go really quick. For MC, Lorena, and probably Reese, I was having an idea of having more of a washed out color, like in these scenes. Instead of a sepia tone, it's more of a washed. It keeps the color of the scene of the scene, but it's more washed out and less brown, if that makes sense. So I was thinking like MC would have more washed out because I just feel like his character's a little different. Same for Lorena and probably Reese, because when I was reading her scene with her dad, it was pretty intense, and I kind of visualized this kind of desaturated color as well. And the next one, I'm gonna disregard this video because I decided not to go with it anymore. So I'm gonna skip that. But the next slide, that's when I started playing with the filter. It's called Cinnamon. So if you use it, I liked how like this is like the one on the left is me without a filter, and the one on the right is me with the cinnamon. And I like how like the colors, you can still see the colors of my clothing. You can still see the colors of my background of my posters. And I went outside and I tested it, and I also really liked how you can still see the colors, even though it's a sepia tone. And then for the MC, Lorena, and Reese, I found out I was playing around with filters, and I saw that there was actually a filter. I want to show you, but I can't seem to play with it. It's called Boost, and it actually works really well for. Oh no. It works really well for like a desaturated color, but if I can talk to the editor, maybe he can also desaturate it a little bit more. But I was playing around with it and I really liked it. And moving on to costumes, this is some of my visual research for costumes. I really liked the colors in most of these pictures, and I was trying to stay in a certain like color palette for the costumes. Like I'm not going for very poppy, very like kind of like, you know, pink, purple colors. So I was sticking with like red, white, and blue, green, brown, very natural colors. So these are just some of my visual research for that. And when I start with MC, I was thinking he would have, like at the very beginning, he would have his uniform. And then for here, he would have like a black shirt, maybe like a brown jacket, because I feel like MC's kind of reserved. So I feel like he would have this jacket that he's kind of hiding in between for the scenes. And he's very like, he seems very shy. So I just feel like a jacket would look good on him. But for his first scene, I was thinking he would have this type of shirt and a vest. And then I also stole your pictures. But every VRC staff will be wearing their polo if I can get my hands on the polos. But I have like an addition, I have a backup plan if I can't get my hands on 4 more polos. So
You need 4 more because I delivered 4 today.
oh no, yeah, I needed 4, but I was told by Brian that he wasn't able to get the what was he said something about
Blue one, so I delivered 4 green ones today.
oh yeah, okay, thank you, that's fine. It's just Brian said he didn't get the approval of the director, or the, I forgot what he said.
We'll figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
We're all good. We're good. Kim,
Yeah.
you don't have to do anything else right now. You did great. And we'll figure that out later.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. Let's see, moving on. And for Jasper, I pictured like a hoodie, maybe a hat or a beanie. So give him that like student look. And for Sarah, I want Sarah to look very presentable when she shows up to the VRC. I feel like she would dress up for an occasion like this. For George, I feel like he would be a flannel guy. Yeah, I feel like he would be a casual flannel guy, show up to school maybe in a jacket. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have the jacket, but I like the flannel idea. And for Lorena's flashback, I thought her flashback when I first read it was a flashback when she was out serving, but I was told that she is not, so I'm gonna change these costumes most likely. And for Yvonne, I feel like she's like a girl who would wear like a nice shirt, nice flannel with a jean jacket, maybe a scarf. I can picture her in boots, but I know we're not gonna be able to see her feet anyways, but yeah. And then for young Nomi, young Esme, I feel like stripes, big t-shirts, a bucket hat maybe. It screams like young to me, screams like childlike to me. So maybe
I'm so for the bucket hat, dude.
Do you have a bucket hat? That would be great.
I might, but I had one that looked just like that, except it was bright orange. My mom probably saved it. I might be able to find
no,
it.
yeah, for like the young Nomi, young Esme, I feel like they would actually have bright colors, so I will probably add bright colors to those scenes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for Bet 3, I feel like he would have something that kind of he's proud to represent, like he was in the army. I feel like he would be wearing like a shirt with a flag on it, maybe a nice jean jacket over it. Yeah, I feel like he would be wearing the colors. For the dads, I feel like they would be wearing nice dress shirts, maybe a nice polo, nice pants if it goes down under the torso area if they record. But yeah, I feel like the dads would be very presentable during their scenes, like casual, nice, maybe. And for Ron, I feel like he would be wearing like a worn out t-shirt, worn out pants, like his t-shirt just like faded pretty much. And I felt like that's how he would look. And that's actually it from my presentation. Yeah.
It was wonderful. Thank you so much. Very exciting. Does anybody have any questions? That was fantastic. Anybody have any questions or thoughts they want to throw out at Demi right now? Because we got to move.
I just have a quick shout that if you didn't see your character in this presentation, please don't think that your character is not getting dressed. Okay, it is happening.
Just like the storyboards, we hit the kind of points in the constellation, and then we connect the dots.
Yeah, it's all, you all have clothes. Nobody's naked.
All right.
Okay.
So should we go to Elias?
Yes, please.
All right.
We're hoping people are okay staying the extra 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. You guys can see this, right?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right. So for my presentation, I'm gonna have some pictures just so you can see for reference. And I'll also have some sounds because that's what I'm doing. So the first scene, the wars. This is what I have. Just so you know, there's some shootings and bombing happening here. Just so you know. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, your sound is going kind of really soft and then sometimes a little louder.
Yeah, I don't know. My computer's being weird. All right. Give me 1 second. I have no control over my computer.
Always the way, isn't it? Right when you want it to.
Yeah. All right. Give me 1 sec. All right, I'll show this way. So we're scene 11 when they're looking for the shoes. I kind of picture them in the living room, and then when Dad says, "Oh, they're outside in the trash can," I figured, oh, maybe it's trash day. So this is what I have. Yeah, so that horn would be like the transition into the scene. Then for scene 12, when Nomi's flipping the switch and they're trying to turn on the stove, that goes into her in her room talking to her dad. This is what I have. For when MC's writing it, he's like everything's coming up in his head in scene 14B. I kind of just pictured like almost kind of like the ending of the previous slide. But I'll let you listen. And then for 18C, when Max and George are talking, it's more of a dreamlike state, I feel. So this is what I have. This would be underneath the scene. And then for when Reese and Ron are in the garage, I just pictured them in the garage door coming up while Ron is listening to music. And then for when Lorena and the two vets are in their apartment, is what I got is music, and then it fades down underneath the scene as the scene is happening. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Elias. Thank you for sharing that. Cool. So terrific. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts they want to throw out before we hear a little bit more regarding the sound? Anything? BAH? I don't even know what that means, Jeremy.
It's base allowance for housing.
Base allowance for housing. I see.
Yeah, so it's money we get for being full-time students. So if that was Lorena's apartment, then like she needs to be, we need to talk to her.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's getting like $3,000 plus a month for rent. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, that's great. Okay, so I think that I don't hear any questions or comments regarding the sound right now, but
No, I just want to add that was really good. I really enjoyed the sounds, Elias.
Uh-huh.
Everyone is great. Everything seems to be coming along really nicely. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and you guys also just don't forget this is all still part of the process. So there's more coming.
Yeah.
And just because you heard one thing or saw one specific thing today does not necessarily mean it's going to stay exactly the way you saw it. There's still more filters that need to happen as we get closer to recording and stuff. So, but this definitely gives us a really good idea of where we're going design wise. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you. And if you want now, Bernardo and Paula, I can kind of segue and take just a couple minutes to talk about like what this all means from kind of a practical.
Yes, please.
Meaning. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah. So I want to just first acknowledge that this is my first time doing community-based theater, and I know that I'm already learning a lot. One of the things I want to help this team do is kind of get onto the same page, because we don't all come to this project with the same experience in making theater. What's more, those of us who are professional theater makers, we don't really make Zoom theater. That's like not how we were trained. So we are in many levels of learning right now. So what I want to do is just kind of give you a sense of what this might mean for you as we start to integrate the technical elements, because I think right after spring break is when we're going to start to do that. So you've got another week of rehearsal. And you might start to get little inklings here, because Valencia, who has been your champion this whole time, she also has another role that you might not be aware of, where she is kind of making charts and lists, and you're like, no, you're not going to be in the show. It's okay. It's okay. You'd know that by now.
She does have one line. She does.
Oh no. Okay. Great. We'll get her a green screen. It'll be perfect. So she is now going to become this central hub of communication, making sure that you as performers know what you need to know to communicate with us as designers, because all of this stuff is basically going to end up in your homes. You will have costumes on your bodies. You will have backdrops behind you. You will have props that we get to you. And all of that takes an enormous amount of logistical work. And basically it kind of all goes down to Valencia to make that happen, not to put too fine a point on it. But what it means is that you, every time you have a question or every time something comes up for you, that's your go-to person. You'll always have Bernardo and Paula to, be your directors from the artistic side, but when it's logistical, always make sure you're talking to Valencia about it. So what does this mean literally? Well, starting after spring break, we're going to start introducing these tech elements and taking time during rehearsal to see how they work in your space. So you'll get backdrops and we will be asking you to set them up, and you'll get props and you'll talk to Demi about what you're wearing. You'll even get some lighting instruments. And so part of your rehearsal process will be the activation of the design elements. So your time may be spent, stretching a backdrop on a frame and making sure your camera fits right. And all of that stuff is like, okay, you know how the end of I think like Sister Act, there's like this big spectacular show and all of a sudden there's like spotlights and like where did those lights come from, and like where did all of that jazz erupt from? It just magically appeared. That is a fantasy. That is a myth. That is not how big theatrical productions work. It takes incredibly intense, finicky, is this exactly it? No, let's make it bigger. No, let's make it smaller. Can you lean into the frame? Can you lean out? And that's the kind of level of detail we're going to start getting into after spring break. And so what it's going to take from you as performers is kind of hanging on to everything that you've learned so far about your characters, about how you use your voice, about how you use your body, things that you've been working on with Paul. At the same time, keeping lots of patience and determination to work out these other technical elements that will be what turns what you've done so far into the design elements and this kind of final product. So we're going to be depending on you enormously to make all of this work, and we're all going to have a lot of patience as we move through it, and then as we do move into filming, you know, it will be even more essential for us all to keep in communication with each other. So like, oh, we need this thing set up in your room for that day. Got it. Okay, understood. Like send Valencia a message back that says that you understand. Valencia says, okay, guys, you know, we're going to run this, but you know, it's 15 minutes later and Elias is still messing with some kind of volume thing. Right. But then as soon as Valencia says, okay, we're going to run the scene, now it's time to like grasp everything that you've been holding on to and put it all out there on the screen. So there's going to be a lot of kind of hurry up and wait, and there's going to be a lot of wait, what's, you know, are we ready to go yet? I don't know. And what we as theater practitioners always need to do is remember this kind of big picture, which is that we're all here to make this kind of final product as a team, and we have to kind of wait for each part of the team to move along as a unit. So I don't know if that addressed some of the things you wanted to talk about, Paula.
Yeah, I think so. That's a great overview. And I also just wanted to get to, I think that folks know that they're going to all need a tripod, and they're all going to be recording on their at this point. We think everybody's going to be recording on their phones. Yeah, it sounds like the military, right? Yeah. We work as a unit.
I wouldn't know.
Our community partners are down, I'm sure. They're
great.
They're going to be great. They're already good. They have much higher stakes than what ours are in their work. But but I think just to be clear that people are going to have tripods. People are going to record using their phones, and any issues that they might encounter or questions they have about it are going to be addressed when people are having individual meetings. We are making that time during that week after spring break, where they will, if they have questions, keep them ready so that you use that time well, and then say, I'm not sure how this works, or is this working? And they'll be working directly with people specifically, not Bernardo and I, but we may be present to hear it and okay it or whatever it is and keep the vision all going. But we have so many professionals on so many levels who have far greater expertise than we do on those areas. So they're going to be with you. Also, there will be, for everybody who's in the VRC, there'll be some type of a backdrop, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
And
you're gonna have like stands and fabric, and some of you might have a couple. And so we're gonna have to check out your space together and see what makes sense for you in terms of that setup, and you know, make it work differently for everybody, I'm sure.
And we've talked about certain scenes, like the possibility. Lorena's not here today, but she's going to see this recording. Lorena and Vet 1 and Vet 2, we might actually have you be outside, or we don't know. Doing this at night, I don't know. We don't know. We're playing with some ideas. So we're gonna finish, but I think those are the basics. Does anybody say, what are you talking about? What do you mean by that? Or that you want to say to us now? Or does it make sense? Jason, are you asking a question, or we're just seeing you? I think we're just seeing you. Okay, listen, we know. Yeah, thank you. We just want to honor that. I'm going to take us back to gallery so I can see you all, but I just want to thank you. I know that I'm going to stop it.